You're listening to Be Radiant Radio. You are made of light and you are made to shine. Positive, uplifting, and helpful. Welcome to the show where you'll get informational and inspirational ideas on how to unleash your potential, get what you want in life, and shine like you're meant to.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Angela Loeb. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm joined by a special guest. I'm excited to have Shelley Pernot with me during the next half an hour as we talk about mindfulness in a hectic world. We'll discuss the importance and value of mindfulness and what it is in the first place. And Shelley will tell us how to practice it easily, how we can do this every day and do it easily. So I'm looking forward to that. Before we get started, though, let me tell you a little bit about Shelley. She's a native Texan who spent most of her career working in the UK and the Netherlands for ExxonMobil. She was the owner of a risk management consultancy firm called SAS Resources, where clients included energy firms like E.ON, PowerGen, and Siemens. In 2009, Shelley returned to Texas and joined an energy firm. Everyone knows this one, BP, and she experienced that huge challenge that BP went through, the Deepwater Horizon incident, and she said that this experience gave her the desire to really develop authentic leaders who would lead the company to a brighter future. And then in 2012, she became what was known as the Global Capability Manager for the Leadership Development Group at BP, when she designed and delivered engaging programs like one called Courageous Conversations, which is aimed at creating a culture that welcomed honest discussion. Yay for that. As well as the Universal Graduate Skills Program, which positioned BP as an employer of choice for graduates. So being very passionate about development, she decided that it was time to strike out on her own. She left BP in 2015, so this year, to start her own coaching and training firm. True North Development helps individuals find their own true north, whether that be in life or as a leader. And so people will show up more powerfully in life. Shelley holds a bachelor's and a master's in accounting from the University of Texas at Austin, an MBA from Erasmus Rotterdam School of Management in the Netherlands, and she's also a certified coach through the International Coaching Federation. She's also a licensed Hatha yoga instructor and a certified public accountant. She currently lives and works on beautiful Lake Austin and my hometown with me, Austin, Texas. Hi, Shelley, and welcome to Be Radiant Radio.
Hi, Angela. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're getting to join us. Here in Austin today, we're having one of the most phenomenally gorgeous days.
Oh, yeah.
So you're probably enjoying being on Lake Austin even more than usual.
Oh, indeed. Yeah.
So I'm up the road as well. Yeah, it's so pretty. So you have, quite a resume. You were in the energy industry doing finance, risk management, leadership development, training. And you're a CPA too. And then you went on to this other kind of energy, right? You're a yoga instructor. Is that how you got interested in mindfulness in the first place?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's quite an interesting story how it happened. I literally came to find yoga by accident. I had moved back to Texas in 2009 from Rotterdam, where I was living at the time, and I started dating this guy, and he literally kind of drugged me to this yoga class. It was actually, it's like a power yoga. It's Bikram yoga, and I didn't necessarily want to go, but I wanted to impress him. And so needless to say, the relationship didn't work out, but luckily the yoga did, and it became kind of a journey for me. Because yoga is, in essence, it's a mindfulness practice that you do with your body. Folks don't often look at it that way, but that's really what it is. And the more I started practicing, I started noticing improvements, in 3 areas. And it was quite subtle how this evolved over time. But the first was my body. So, I started losing weight. I used to smoke, actually, about a pack a day. Not so proud of that, but really proud that I quit due to what happened, with practicing the yoga. But started losing weight, started not having as much, need to smoke. And really I started taking up road bike racing. So I started doing, things I had never done before. Wanted to test my body, do things that really interested me that I never thought I could do. And then the second improvement really came with respect to my mind. I've always been a person that I would describe as having an active mind, so to speak.
But we all have active minds. So you're not alone.
We all have active minds. We all have active minds. Some maybe a little bit more than others. And what I noticed is that the more I practiced, the less anxiety I had, the less chatter kind of going on in the mind monkey, so to speak. And it wasn't just something that I noticed. The most interesting thing about this was that other people really noticed it too, particularly people I worked with at the time at BP, and they made a lot of comments about that. You seem so much calmer. You're glowing. What is this that you found? Explain this to us. And it was hard for me to explain at the time because I wasn't even kind of conscious of the transformation. And the third was ultimately my spirit. And people might say, well, what the heck does that mean? She got in touch with her spirit, whatever that is. But how that really worked for me was because my thoughts became calmer. It actually gave me the opportunity. It opened up some space and allowed for me to see what wasn't really working in my life. Yeah. And the bottom line was, at the time that there were a lot of things that weren't working. Even though on the surface maybe they looked like they did. I had like a well-paying job, I had a lot of material possessions, but ultimately I wasn't happy with what I was doing. I was really uninspired by my career in risk management at the time. And I went from one failed relationship to the next. And when it really started to turn for me was when I realized that the more authentic I am to myself, the more I show up that way in a relationship or in any aspect of my life, the more things are going to start to happen for me. And they really did. Started living truer to who I really was at the end of the day. And that's when the huge shift happened. So I could talk about yoga all day long because it's wonderful.
Well, it's like the mind, the body, and the inner voice connect. It's all like lining up and connecting. And I totally understand this. I've been practicing yoga off and on for years, and over the past year and a half, very specifically, every Tuesday night, very faithfully been practicing something called restorative yoga. And there's my yoga instructor who does this. She likes to bring in the spiritual aspect of it. She likes to actually start every session with gratitude. What are we grateful for, and really kind of center us to that. And it's kind of funny is that only recently, it's been a year and a half, and I finally came to this understanding that I think that what I'm doing when I'm doing yoga in this way is that I'm actually praying with my body, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And it's like as though, because to me, prayers aren't just asking for things, putting out the intention and asking for something. That's also expressing gratitude. So that's what it feels like. I feel like I'm expressing gratitude with my body when I'm doing this. And so I get it.
You're really connected. If you feel like that when you're doing the yoga, you're really connected to what's going on in your body, your mind, your spirit. Right. That's wonderful. I mean, what I tell my yoga. So is that
what mindfulness is? I mean, I know this is a very fundamental question, but is that what mindfulness is being like aware of your body like that? Or tell me what you think about that.
So awareness is a big part of it. And I'll give you the quick and dirty definition that I use. And this is the definition that because I teach a course on mindfulness for the University of Texas as well. And it's the one I use in that program. And how I articulate it is, it's the practice of focusing awareness in the present moment. Mm-hmm. So it's the practice of focusing awareness in the present moment. So awareness is definitely in there. I mean, awareness is a huge part of mindfulness. And I'm just going to break this down a little bit because each one of these words was quite intentional, and there's a reason why it was chosen. For instance, the word practice. So mindfulness is a practice. I think quite often people view mindfulness as it's a state that you reach. Sometimes folks think about, I can't really do mindfulness because, I'm not very spiritual or I'm not Buddhist or, they think of like this levitating monk
Right.
This fictitious
Right.
levitating monk that's there, and they're mindful, and they're really good at it, and it'd be really hard for me to do that because I've got a life and I'm busy, I've got kids, I've got a job, But no, mindfulness is a practice, and it's a practice that we all can do. And there's some days I do it really well, if I do say so myself, and there are other days I don't do it as well, and I'm mindful of that. So it is that ongoing practice. It's that journey that we're all on, and there's no state of perfection where this is concerned. So
right.
that was.
What do you think? I have a question for you that's related to this, because we're talking about yoga as a way to practice mindfulness, obviously, but I kind of feel like I'm in the present moment when I'm walking my dog through the trail, through the trees. Like I have a nature trail behind my apartment community. And to me, when I'm walking that, I kind of feel like very present, like I don't care about what's at my desk right then because I'm looking at the trees, paying attention to the dog, that kind of thing. Is that also mindfulness? I mean, I think that's what mindfulness is too, right?
Absolutely. And I love the fact that, thank you for honing in on the word present, because that's also a key part of the definition. So it's about being in the present moment. If I could use just the most layperson way of saying this, being in the present moment, and often these are times when, again, when I'm teaching the course for UT, I have students think about, give me those situations when you're in the zone, when you're in the zone, and there's you can't think of anything else, and I hear things like, the first time I ever looked at my newborn child. I honestly could not have been anywhere else in the world. So it's things like that. It was giving an amazing presentation on something I was really passionate about at work the other day, and I was there. I was in the present moment. I wasn't anywhere else, and that's mindfulness. Yeah. That's mindfulness in all its forms. Walking your dog through nature, a great example.
Yeah, I saw a really great interview with Hugh Jackman once, and he talked about how he meditates, and he said that sometimes those types of states of awareness that he gets when he's meditating, he's actually had it when he's on the stage or when he's acting with, and it's like scene is coming together and the other actors are all kind of in this zone together. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, so it's not just yoga. It's not just sitting there chanting ohms in a lotus position either, right?
Right,
so,
because then, what's the point of that? Because we all live lives too, right? I mean, you're not going to sit on a cushion all day long and just go, I mean, when I think about why I made the career change I made and how I ended up where I am now, it's because doing what I do now gives me tons of moments to actually be in the zone. As many different in the zones as possible, like the conversation we're having right now. For me, I'm in the zone. I can't think of anything else. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So we can all do this. We can all do mindfulness. We all know how to do this, but it's believing that we can do it.
Yeah, I love being mindful while we're talking about mindfulness. That's great. So now I know there are a lot of benefits to this. I mean, I've read a lot of studies that say that it affects, of course, mental health, like you talked about. You're feeling more in touch and calm, and people are noticing it. And physical health, there's a lot of studies about it affecting physical health.
Sure.
So why do you think it's? Why do you think it's so important? What makes you so certain that this mindfulness and health and physical and mental, connection is so important?
Well, okay, so there's a few things I'd point to. So I'd refer back to the story that I told, because I personally experienced the benefits of it, yoga being the conduit, a number of years ago, and I've tried to maintain that, a number of ways by maintaining my yoga practice, by cultivating a meditation practice, and we can talk about that later. But that's one example, on a personal level for me. But I also like research too, and I like substantive facts. I mean, I used to work in risk management, so
right. So, and you are an accountant by heart.
I am an
accountant. In your heart, you're an
accountant. In a former life, I'm a CPA still. I haven't let it lapse, and so I like things to be practical and pragmatic too. And so there's an institute called the Langer Institute, and there's a woman by the name of Ellen Langer who has been dubbed basically the mother of mindfulness. And she is a professor at Harvard University, And she's made quite a name for herself and for the Langer Institute, actually doing research on mindfulness. And you can Google them. They're very prolific. They're out there. I recently read an article that she had written for Harvard Business Review, and it's gone quite mainstream. If you're seeing things like this now in Harvard Business Review, mindfulness is really getting there. And she's done a number of studies, really innovative studies that have proven over time, how much mindfulness does for folks when it comes to stress reduction, productivity, the ability to communicate more effectively, emotional intelligence. It's the foundation of pretty much every leadership development skill that's out there. That's what I tell, often people when I'm facilitating programs or teaching leadership development. Mindfulness is the foundation. You can get better at communication skills if you take a course, but if you don't have this, if you're not mindful of what's going on in your mind and understand, the stories that you're creating for yourself, you're setting yourself up, to fail to a certain extent.
So I think this is timeless too. Because I think about the fact that we have this vocabulary now of mindfulness and versus mindlessness and that kind of thing. But the thing is one of the best books I ever read was written in the early 40s by Dale Carnegie, and it's called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And it was about this, about stop worrying, get out of your mind and stop worrying and actually live your life. And I think that I don't think he used the word ever, mindfulness, in the book.
Yeah.
But I think that was one of the early recognitions about how important it is. So,
absolutely, and it is. And I even heard this at BP. When I worked at leadership development there, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of really, really masterful leaders. And there was one who was well known throughout the entire organization and known for being a really effective leader and an all-around really great person, the type of person you want to work for. And I sat down with this individual once and interviewed him. And I said, what is the secret to your success? Tell me what it is that you do so well that everyone's raving about you all the time. And this individual looked me in the eye and said, it's real simple. It's really just one thing. I give whatever is in front of me my undivided attention.
Yeah, wow.
And I was blown away by that. Think about that. Think about that for a second. Because
people want to be heard anyway. So that's as powerful as a leader, to just listen to people and actually be present while you're listening to them. Yeah.
Yes, because mindlessness, it's all around us. How many times have you been, in a meeting with somebody and you became aware maybe that they really weren't paying attention? Maybe they're playing with their phone, which is all too common these days. How does that make you feel?
Well, when they're not, it makes me feel like I'm reaching them. So
exactly,
it is definitely a good measure. You're right.
Exactly.
Well, I want to ask you, because I want to, before we run out of time today, because I know we only have a limited time today, I really want to talk about what you would like to suggest that people do.
Okay.
You talk about having a mindful practice, versus a mindless practice, right? We practice mindlessness all the time. But I'd like to hear what you have to say. What are some practical things that you recommend we do? Especially if we can't go out and do yoga classes,
Sure.
So what kind of practical things do you think we can do every day?
Sure. So the first one I'll talk to is meditation. So meditation, there's many different things you can call it. You can also call it centering of the mind, because some people don't like the term meditation because sometimes it gets associated with religious practices, even though it's not.
Yeah.
But
I resisted it for years. I resisted it for years. My mother would say, "You really ought to meditate." And I'm like, because she was a child of she was like into the 70s and stuff. You ought to meditate. I'm like, whatever, Mom. So I resisted it for many years.
I resisted it for the longest time, too. Even after I was practicing yoga, because yoga, like I said before, is a moving meditation. Meditation itself, more where you're just sitting on a mat or on the floor or wherever you are. I resisted really that type of meditation. And, there's so many myths. There's so many reasons why we tell ourselves that we can't meditate. Deepak Chopra actually has a great page on his website, 7 meditation myths we tell ourselves. And I refer to it quite frequently, because it's things like meditation's difficult, so I can't do it. Again, it's like only for the levitating monk. They're the ones that know how to meditate. They're the ones who are good at it. Or people think, it's about quieting your mind, and I can't do it unless I completely quieten my mind, so I can't do meditation because I'm no good at that.
Or Shelley, you're self-conscious about chanting. I mean, some people think you have to do the chanting. I get like I don't want to chant.
Don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. I mean, it's there's so many myths out there. Like even you have to have your eyes closed. You actually don't have to have your eyes closed to meditate. The form of meditation that I do, it's from a Shambhala. It's a Buddhist lineage called the Shambhala lineage. You actually meditate with your eyes open. So so which is interesting because you could do it anywhere. You could be doing it in a business meeting, nobody would know.
Okay, I like that.
If you're sitting there quietly, but there's these myths, and we tell ourselves these myths like meditation's escapism. I don't have enough time to meditate. What I tell people is, just do it. Even if it's just 1 or 2 minutes a day, and that's all you can do to start, developing a practice and a habit of actually meditating. Then just do that. Just do it. Do a couple minutes a day. You could even do it in the shower while you're taking a shower. Just try it. It doesn't have to look like what you think, quote unquote, it's supposed to look like. Meditation is actually a lot more informal and fluid than I think we think we want to think. So I'm a big believer in it. And to explain what meditation actually is, it's not about quieting the mind so you don't think any thoughts at all. What meditation is about is creating space between your thoughts.
Okay.
All it is about creating space. And because you're going to think thoughts. Your mind is an amazing tool, and it thinks thoughts all day long. But the trick with meditation is to recognize your thinking thoughts, recognize those thoughts for what they are. They're just thoughts. Let them float away, and start to see the space between those thoughts. And that's the power of meditation. And it's simple. It's really, really simple to do.
It sounds like it's slowing it down. You're slowing your thoughts down that way, or the pace of your thoughts. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and some days it's going to be more difficult than others. I have times myself, I meditate probably 3 to 4 times a week, in addition to my Hatha yoga practice. And I try to do about 20 to 30 minutes. So that's what I've developed into. But that took some time, to get to that point. And, there are some days I sit down on the mat and I'm really able to get into that space quite quickly. And I'm really able to let those thoughts start to float away. And I have other days where, it's like my mind is like a caged animal. And it's trickier on those days. But it just is what it is. You can't judge it. It is what it is. And that's the whole point about meditation. It's not about judging your thoughts, but it's about noticing them and letting them go.
So, yeah, I get that. Now, for me, breathing, if I focus on my breathing, I find that I'm slowing down my thoughts. So just
absolutely.
It's not like I'm not having any thoughts because my thought is breathing. I'm working on noticing my breathing. So I'm still thinking, but that just helps me quite a lot to just really calm down and slow down.
And breath work is definitely, something you can do as part of meditation. It's something you can also do on your own. So I'm really glad that you mentioned the breath because I wanted to note that as something specific as well, because we're talking about practical here. And I'm a big believer in practical. So there's something called square breathing. And I learned this actually at the Shambhala Center in California. But actually, lots of people know about this. Brene Brown, in her new book, Rising Strong, was actually talking about square breathing, and she got it from the U.S. military. They actually use it as well. So you got Buddhists doing it, you have the U.S. military doing it. Well, it's a good opportunity to be mindful when you've got a gun and you're in a war zone.
It's good enough for our soldiers. It's good enough for me. So tell us how square breathing works. What is it?
So square breathing, really, really simple. All right, and we can even practice it if we've got time. We may not, but you inhale for a count of 4. You hold it. You hold your breath in for a count of 4. You exhale for a count of 4, and then you hold that for a count of 4.
Oh, okay.
So it's
square.
Simple.
Right.
Dead simple. I mean, we could even, do you want to try it real quick?
Sure, let's do it. Everybody in
the
audience who's listening to this, they can do it too.
Yeah, everyone who's listening as well. So get comfortable in your seat, wherever you are, whoever you are, and inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold it, 2, 3, 4. That's it.
That's easy. Okay.
Square box breathing. You can do that anywhere. I mean, you can do it at your desk at work.
That's good.
Yeah, it really works. I mean, I use this with clients, clients I coach. I use this, in courses I teach. I mean, it really works. So square breathing you can do anytime. The other thing I'd talk briefly about is just think about everyday practices that you can make more mindful. Okay, so again, it's all about making this practical. So think about your cell phone, or your mobile, as the Brits would say. But think about your cell phone.
Your mobile device.
Your mobile device, whatever that is, and think about all the ways you can use it more mindfully. Think about how mindless we are with our cell phones sometimes. I mean, I think I read something the other day that the average person checks their cell phone almost 100 times a day.
I believe it.
It didn't take much for me to believe that, actually. And so there's apps you can get that actually can show you this, that can track the number of times you check it. If you want to start to become more mindful about how much you're using your phone. One thing that I've done is I've actually set times for checking Facebook on my phone. So, Facebook's important. I use it for my business as well. But I only check it now in the morning and in the evening. But I don't pick up my phone and just start playing with it all the time like I used to. I'll have an off day every once in a while. But, it's developing those practices, around everyday objects that we use to try to keep you more in the present moment. Because, again, going back to the definition, keeping you in the present moment.
Do what that executive was talking about, right, where he said he did that one simple thing where he just paid attention to what was going on more attentively, right? Yeah, that's really cool. So we're going to start running out of time soon, and I want to make sure that everybody knows how to get a hold of you and everything. These are some great tips. I mean, this is like some good stuff, and I want you to come back. I think we already knew that this is a huge topic. Yeah. So you and I talked about you coming back, and you're going to come back in December, right, and do another program with me.
Absolutely.
So I think we've got it scheduled for December 6th. Yeah, so that'll be great. And so you'll give us more tips and so forth. And I really want to talk, too, about that class you're doing at UT. So if anybody in our community wants to go, they hear about it, that'd be great, too. So, okay, so I have another question. We want to know, how can we find out more information from you on this topic? What can we do? You have a website they can go to, that kind of thing?
I do. Yeah, so you can go to my website for True North Development, and that's www.truenorthdevelop.com. So again, www.truenorthdevelop.com. So it's not development. I had to cut off the end. TrueNorthDevelop.com.
I did provide the link. The link is in the resource section. And I'm also going to try to get from you some of the articles and things we've been talking about on the program today, so we can put those in there. And
will do.
We have less than a minute left, so I just want to say thank you so much, Shelley. I can't believe how fast that went.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being my guest today. And thanks, everyone, for joining us. Please practice mindfulness. Keep shining like you're meant to. Thanks a lot, Shelley.
Thanks.